Hello, I'm Jamie Shibley, CEO of The Expressory. Today, I want to talk to you about using gratitude to build more meaningful relationships, right? To build deeper connections. And I'm going to do so by sharing some examples of how you can create gratitude practices that will create those emotional connections. Um, Earlier this year, I started working with a personal trainer. And whenever she teaches us a new exercise, she always shows us that um, there are different levels, right? So if you want easy, you can do the exercise this way. If you want to be more challenging, if you want to take it up a level, here's different ways this can look. So we're going to do the same thing here. There are different levels of gratitude practices that you can implement. So I'm going to start by maybe one of the simplest approaches you can do to use gratitude to build a meaningful connection. Uh, I think if you've been following along, I've written blog articles and I did an interview with Pamela Slim, and she's the author of The Widest Net. And in the book, she shares what she calls tiny marketing actions, simple actions you can take every day to move your relationships forward. And in there, we talked about, actually, when I interviewed her, we talked about, you know what? One of the first steps you can do is simply write an email to someone and tell them that you appreciate them and how they impacted your life, right? Like, so, um, dear Joe, I just want to let you know, I see you. I appreciate, the webinar that you held last week. Here's what I took away from it. Here's how it impacted me. And I just wanted to say thank you. I see you. I like what you're doing. Right. So you're generously sharing with them. You're being grateful, right, for the work, the smarts that they're sharing. It's in an email. It's very easy to do. So, once a day, once a week, we could think of someone in our business community, in our business ecosystem that has done something that we want to say thank you for, right? It's helped us in some way. So, the next level of this looks like don't put that in an email. Write to them a card, handwrite a message of gratitude for how they impacted you. Because now you're using the power of something physical. And we've talked about having a physical item in hand triggers the emotional part of the brain that perceives value, right? It creates that emotional connection with you. Okay, so you're taking that gratitude sharing up a level. And finally, the third level. This one gets a little more complicated and it probably takes a little more time. I read about this practice in the book "The Power of Moments" by Chip and Dan Heath, um, and they shared a study that was conducted from positive psychologist Martin Seligman. Apparently, he's the godfather of positive psychology, and he was studying this thing he called the gratitude visit. And what he found is that expressing gratitude pleases not only the recipient of the praise, but it has a boomerang positive effect on the person giving the gratitude, which we've heard many times, right? But in this exercise, what they saw is the largest spike in happiness that they've ever seen in a study. And it lasts for up to a month afterwards in the giver of the gratitude. And so, how this practice works is you think of someone in your space, someone in your business community who has done something that you are grateful for, similar to writing of the email or the card, right? And you write them a letter. You handwrite this, it's 100 to 300 words, and it should include specific details of what they did and how it affected you. Let the person know what you're doing today and how you're using what you learned from them. Okay. Now, after you write this letter, you're going to reach out to the person and ask them for a meeting. And at this meeting, this visit, you are going to read them the letter. And this is the visit that they talk about, that when studied, the happiness that you create for not only the recipient of the gratitude, but yourself is long lasting. And if we think about when I talk about relationship building, why there's power in this, what's happening when this gratitude visit occurs, right? You're doing something very unique, right? I'm sure it's a little uncomfortable at first, right? Because you are reading someone a letter you wrote for them. So it's different than any experience that they've had. So that alone stands out. It's a bit of a surprise. Okay. Now, at the same time, within this letter, you're telling them how something they did has positively impacted you. You are validating them. You're validating their smarts, their wisdom, who they are. Okay. And we know that validating someone, personally validating someone, is the basis for a long lasting relationship. Okay. Um, and by sharing this gratitude, you were giving them pride in themselves, which also sets up the emotional connection, the emotional bond between you and this person. Okay. So those are 3 practices. One maybe a little bit that needs a little practice, right? Needs some getting used to, but those are 3 ways that you can leverage gratitude to intentionally create some very meaningful business relationships. So if you have someone that maybe you are really trying to create a strong connection with, get the attention of, maybe consider this gratitude visit, right? Watch them for a while and then show up and personally deliver to them how what they're doing has positively impacted you. What kind of relationship would you set up for that sort of connection? All right, so hopefully this has given you some ideas. You can start small and take this up, grow into this. But as usual, feel free to reach out if you want to talk any of this through, or maybe set up some more ideas of how you can implement this personally. Thank you for listening. I hope this has given you some ideas.